Due to climate change, global temperatures rise so drastically that both polar ice caps melt. As a result, continents flood, and dangerous substances like methane gas, ancient viruses, and bacteria trapped in the ice are released. In response, governments develop rockets to flee Earth, but only the wealthy and political elite are granted access. Unfortunately, there's no suitable planet nearby, so those who escape either die from cosmic radiation or turn on each other as resources run out. Earth becomes a post-apocalyptic wasteland, and the few remaining humans live in mountaintop settlements beyond the reach of contamination. A girl named Eva lives in a bunker built by her father, along with a battered military robot named Arthur. Once a soldier in the climate wars, Arthur was reprogrammed to protect Eva. Although she's glad to have someone to talk to, Arthur lacks an understanding of humor or empathy. Every time Eva leaves to scavenge in the abandoned city, Arthur warns her of the dangers, especially not to drink any local water due to contamination. After putting on her oxygen mask, she drives her old truck into the city. On this trip, she collects supplies from an old supermarket and finds a bag of lavender seeds. Before heading back, she sprays her bunker's coordinates on a wall to help potential survivors. When she returns, Arthur requires her to say the password, Scarlet, before letting her in, even if he can clearly see it's her. Eva decontaminates in the entryway shower before going inside. Her routine includes searching for survivors via radio, tending to plants, organizing supplies, exercising, listening to music, and playing with juggling balls. Arthur remains on patrol outside the bunker at all times. A small book with passwords hangs on the fridge. The next day, while Eva works on repairs, she exchanges riddles with Arthur. Normally, he wins, but today, she finally stumps him. She jokes about marrying him, and Arthur responds literally, prompting Eva to express her frustration with how absurd and lonely life has become. When Arthur asks about her father, she recalls the day he left her with Arthur, promising to return, something he never did. Eva playfully proposes marriage again, but Arthur dismisses it, explaining that even a minor system glitch could ruin a relationship. Eva reflects on how easily replaceable he is and wonders if she's truly alone in the world. She tells him about the coordinates she left in the city, but Arthur doesn't understand why she would do that, insisting that if there were survivors, they would have already made contact. Eva brings up the laws of robotics, and Arthur recites them. Robots must not harm humans directly or indirectly, must obey humans unless that contradicts the first law, and must protect themselves unless that conflicts with the first two. Eva argues that if Arthur really wants to survive, he should be seeking better energy sources, instead of relying on the decades-old solar panels she maintains. Arthur insists his job is to guard the bunker, not repair or upgrade equipment. His definition of an intruder is anyone who doesn't know the password, which frustrates Eva. This leads her to vent about the climate wars, recalling how wealthier nations used robots to guard their borders, preventing people from escaping disasters. She believes this kind of programming contributed to humanity's downfall and violated the very laws of robotics, especially when refugees were denied basic needs like water. She wishes she could reprogram Arthur into a helper robot rather than a guard. Arthur is shocked by these accounts of robots harming people, so Eva explains that he, too, was once a combat robot. Her father had wiped Arthur's memories before repurposing him. After installing some additional solar panels, Eva hopes she'll finally be able to put up Christmas lights this year. She considers getting Arthur a gift, but he reminds her that robots don't receive presents. Eva admits she wouldn't even know what to give a machine that doesn't have preferences and wishes he could act more human at times. Later, Arthur surprises her by saying he does want something for Christmas, a replacement for his damaged eye, and the answer to the riddle he couldn't solve. Eva refuses to reveal the answer, saying the whole point is for him to keep thinking about it. That evening, Eva pulls out the Christmas decorations, but she gets distracted when she notices Arthur behaving oddly during his patrol. As she watches him, some decorations fall and break. The next day, Eva decides to venture into the city to look for a plastic Christmas tree. She crosses the perimeter to get a gas can, but when she tries to return to her truck, Arthur demands the password. When she says Scarlet, he claims it's incorrect and raises his weapon at her. Even though he acknowledges that she is Eva, he refuses to let her in. Arthur explains that the password has recently changed, something that happens every 3 months. Unfortunately, Eva has lost track of time, and the updated password is in the notebook inside the bunker. She attempts all the steps of identity verification and even commands Arthur to let her enter, but he refuses. Frustrated and scared, she throws the gas can and yells, then tries every old password she can remember, but none work. She pleads with him, pointing out that he knows who she is and that she'll die if he leaves her outside. When she tries to approach the bunker anyway, Arthur raises his weapon again. Terrified, Eva hides behind a generator, always keeping an eye on his patrol route. After waiting for several hours, she casually greets him again and tries to engage in normal conversation. Arthur responds, but when she approaches the perimeter, he again demands the password. She explains that she just needs an axe to get a Christmas tree, but Arthur tells her there are no trees left. Since he keeps calling her by name, Eva argues he clearly knows she's not an intruder. She reminds him of all their time together and that she only wants to go inside to retrieve the notebook. She also insists that harming her would violate the laws of robotics. But Arthur maintains that his protocol allows him to kill intruders. And by his definition, anyone without the correct password is an intruder. Since Eva can't give the password, he doesn't consider her Eva, despite continuing to call her that. With no other options, Eva hides behind the generator again. When night falls, she begins throwing rocks to try to distract Arthur. He investigates the sound, but never leaves his post. The following day, Eva turns her jacket inside out and pulls up her hood to disguise herself. When she approaches the bunker, Arthur still calls her Eva. She pretends to be a refugee seeking asylum and invokes Article 14 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which guarantees asylum for persecuted individuals. Arthur acknowledges her request, but says he needs permission from his owner, Eva, who, according to him, is behind the generator. Eva hides, changes back into her regular clothes, and emerges again as herself, asking if anything new has happened. When she learns about the refugee, she tells Arthur to let her inside. She then switches outfits once more and returns as the disguised refugee. This time, Arthur seems willing to allow her entry, but only after asking a series of protocol questions. First, he asks what type of refugee she is, noting that political refugees are granted rights, but climate refugees are not. She answers political, and Arthur asks for evidence of her persecution. Eva improvises a story about a war that destroyed her home and killed her family. Then he requests documentation showing she was granted refugee status at a border. She claims to have already completed the paperwork and asks for water, but Arthur says he can only provide water to Eva first. Realizing she's getting nowhere with Arthur, Eva spends another night behind the generator. The next morning, she wakes up feeling extremely weak and sits in front of the robot. Arthur questions how she could claim to be the last human when he saw both an intruder and a refugee the day before. He theorizes there might be more people at the power plant since it's still running, implying someone is maintaining it. Eva tells him it's just robots keeping it operational, but Arthur can't understand why machines would work without human oversight. Before she answers more, Eva asks for water. Arthur refuses, saying he can't give her anything from the bunker without authorization. Frustrated, Eva vents about the limitations of robots. She explains that the power plant still functions only because the robots are too rigid to shut it down. The final shutdown prompt required CAPTCHA, "Please confirm you're not a robot," which they couldn't respond to. Arthur doesn't see this as a flaw. In fact, he thinks it's good that robots can't lie. He still can't solve Eva's riddle because it requires understanding deceit, something he's incapable of grasping. After resting briefly, Eva suddenly remembers something and rushes to her truck, hoping to find water in the engine compartment. But the container is empty. Furious, she throws it at Arthur, then collapses beside the tiny lavender seed bag she had forgotten. She digs a small hole in the dirt and uses her last drops of water to plant them. Desperate now, she offers to tell Arthur the answer to the riddle in exchange for water or entry into the bunker. He refuses again. Checking her oxygen tank, she sees it's down to 18%, but hopes it's enough. Eva drives to the power plant, climbs the tower, and descends into the interior using ropes. Luckily, the entrance is unlocked. She searches through countless rooms, following a map until she reaches the supply room, only to find the door locked. Her oxygen runs out, so she removes her mask, grabs an axe, and smashes the door down. She finally gets inside, only to discover all the water containers are empty. Crushed, she cries before trying to make her way out. She finds a few water droplets in a shower, but it's nowhere near enough. By evening, Eva returns to the bunker and stares at Arthur. In a desperate move, she drives her truck straight at him. Arthur opens fire, and she dives out before the truck explodes. The blast leaves her badly wounded. She rips up her jacket to bandage her injuries and loses consciousness from the heat. The next morning, the fire is out, and Eva is too weak to walk. She crawls toward the solar panels and rests there. Arthur approaches and coldly informs her that an intruder tried to attack the bunker and is now hiding with a refugee behind the generator. Eva tries to tell him it was her, but he insists he doesn't make mistakes. Later, Eva sees what she believes is her father approaching to give her water, but it's a hallucination. It's actually Arthur. He tells her she can enter the bunker if she gives him the password. When she begs for water, he ignores her. She loses consciousness again. Hours later, raindrops fall on her face, waking her up. She licks the drops that have collected on the solar panel, but the water tastes awful and she spits it out. Eva wonders aloud if Arthur would take care of her if they were married. He says yes, but adds that if she dies, he would become a robot widower, and he has no idea what a widower should do. He thinks that would be a worse problem than her death. This sends Eva into a breakdown. As she fades again, she imagines herself standing healthy in the city, surrounded by the laughter of children. Arthur brings her back to reality, asking once more for the riddle's answer since she's dying anyway. Eva manages to stand just long enough to flip him off before collapsing. In her mind, the hallucination returns, but she refuses to give in. She insists she has to find a way to beat the machine. She asks Arthur about emergency protocols, and he replies that it only activates upon her death, which he sees as a suitable outcome. He assures her that the refugee and intruder will rebuild society. With her final breath, Eva tells Arthur to take care of her lavender seeds. Then she dies. Arthur processes her words and announces that lavender is the correct password. He returns to his routine patrol. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to see more stories like this. Thanks for watching.